My name is Matt, and this is Forest Tarot. I have been reading tarot for about 8 years now, and when I first started, it was something more of a hobby, something that I just did with friends and family. But as I went further along in my journey with tarot and with healing, I realized not only that I could actually do something with this, but that this was part of my greater purpose in life. So part of starting this channel is taking that first big step on that new path, on that new purpose. So my sincere hope is that this video can give you answers that you're looking for. But more than that, I really am hoping that this can somehow provide you with a chance to go deeper and to begin really healing. So it is my calling and my hope that this video can specifically reach those of you who have really been feeling that call to the unknown, to take things a step further. Maybe you're somebody who has spent a long time in a job or a career or a relationship or a situation or persona, a personality that doesn't fit, that you're really starting to realize it just doesn't fit. And as somebody who went through much of that and is determined to use my experiences to help you begin that journey for yourself, I am really hoping that this video is reaching those of you wanting to change, wanting to heal, wanting to grow. So let's embark on this journey together and see what we can do. See what life has to offer us. So in this reading, I will be channeling messages for you and for your new path. I am an intuitive reader, so I don't have any script for this reading. I don't have any layouts. I don't really assign meanings or placements for each card, but instead I let the messages, the symbolism, the meanings of the cards to weave together your specific situation. Of course, this is a general reading, and so I ask that you kind of take the initiative in figuring out what fits for you and what doesn't. But I'm really sending this video to those who might need to hear it at a specific moment in time. So, without further ado, welcome to Forest Tarot, and let's get started. The way that I usually do my readings is I will start out with specifically this oracle deck that I use. It's called the Vessel Oracle deck, and I'll link it in the description below if you're interested in using it on your own. But essentially, I always start my readings by getting a few different keywords. And by keywords, I really mean main themes in your reading. So when I get these keywords, I'm going to lay them out, And then I will ask for tarot cards to be pulled underneath each keyword that will explain to me more about why that keyword is there. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to start by getting us some keywords. Let's see. We're asking for any messages, any guidance that is being offered to those watching this video. Okay. Let's take a couple more. Okay. Alright. So it looks like we have defeat, boundaries, birth, communication, and we also have movement on the back of the deck. Alright, so I'm going to start pulling the tarot for each of these keywords. Now the tarot I'm using is actually one of my favorite tarot decks. I figured it would be fitting for my first video, and this is the Fountain Tarot, and I will also link that below. But I mean, how can you not love it? The imagery is just so beautiful, so atmospheric. I'll show you even just one more. Yeah, so we're gonna pull some cards. We're gonna start with defeat here. Defeat. Why is defeat here? The star in reverse. Wow. If there was ever a card for feeling defeated, the star in reverse would fit the bill for sure. So off to a strong start. The star in reverse and defeat here really telling me it's like you're feeling this birth here, right? You're feeling this call to something more, but there's right now this sense of defeatedness, and I'm really feeling this in my chest area, and maybe this is something you physically experience as well, this weight, this burden in your chest, in your throat, of I don't know how to get to this birth. I don't know how to get to where I want to go. And I don't even know where that is, you know? I don't even know what it is I'm trying to go to. It's like you've lost your way. And part of you realizes that it isn't getting lost, right? Because if anything, losing your way was the period of time that you spent in a situation that you didn't want to be in, that has been making you feel so dragged down, depressed, blocked. It's like you've been doing something that is the opposite of you, is what you don't want, is what people have expected of you. And but, you know, a lot of people, myself included, talk about transitionary periods almost being harder than if everything were to just fall apart. Because that would be easy, right? That would be easy. Look, I like gesturing with my hands, and here's 3 of Swords. It would be easy if it was like the 3 of Swords, and everything just fell apart, and your heart was split in 2. Because at least then we know it's wrong for us, right? At least then with heartbreak and true like failure or defeat or betrayal, at least then we know the truth. But it can be even more difficult to recognize the truth on your own, to have the courage and the insight to say, this feeling inside of me it means something. It means something. This defeat, this feeling of depression, of listlessness, it means something. It's calling you to something greater. Your body, your soul does not want to stay here. And here we have the Knight of Swords. And I'm going to put that under boundaries as well. With boundaries and the Knight of Swords here, this is really asking you, what is it that is holding you back from this birth, from this leveling up? What is it exactly that is making you feel this way? That is making you feel so defeated? That is making you feel so brought down? What is that? What is that? And if you could even just pause for a second and feel into that defeatedness with me, that depression, that feeling of hopelessness, of feeling stuck, but wanting nothing more than just to move forward. What is that? Where does that come from? Is it from the job you're in? Is it from the relationship you're in? And you can really pay attention to the feelings in your body as you consider each area of your life. Is it bringing you down? Is it this sinking? Is it more of this sinking feeling in your chest? And if so, I would really listen to that as information, as a helpful resource, as the answer that you're looking for, maybe even in this video or from external circumstances. And what this boundary card and this Knight of Swords is really asking of you is, you know those things we just went over that you just thought about that are bringing you down? Now comes the difficult part of having the courage to cut them out, to cut them out of your life. And I feel this simultaneous, in that space I was talking about with the chest and the throat, feeling weighed down. It's like that feeling is constricted with fear at the potential of letting it go. But at the same time, there's this feeling of relief and of excitedness. And I want you to take a deep breath with me in, out. And just imagine for a second, what would your life be like? And let go of to be honest, let go of the bullshit for a second. Let go of the money or the lack of resources or, oh, but I just can't. Like, I have to be there for my family, or I have to be in this job, or I have to be making this money. Let go of that for a second. Let go. Just for a second here. Imagine, what would your life be like if those things were out of your life and you had the freedom to step it up, the freedom to do what you want? What would that look like? And take a deep breath in and out. Feel the lightness in your body when you imagine that. Feel physically what it's like. And ask yourself, why can't I have that? Why can't I step into that? And maybe your mind jumps up with all of these conclusions, like I mentioned before. I don't have the money, I don't have the connections, or I need to, stay in this situation for whatever reason. And that's okay. At the end of the day, that's just your ego trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you in a situation that's secure and stable. But I would challenge that and ask, no, really, why can't I? What's stopping me? And instead of jumping straight to, oh, well, I can't. Because there's a jump there from black to white, right? It's either I stay in the situation I'm in, or I quit everything and let everything go, and only then and only then, when I have the resources I need and I'm free of everything, can I actually live the life I want. You see that, like, really black and white thinking? It doesn't need to be this way. However, what you do need to step into this moment, to step into this birth, to step into this life that you want, what you do need is the ability to cut out the things in your life that are holding you back. Again, this could be a job, a career, a relationship. You know, you do. But you need to also allow that possibility in. Allow it in. You don't even need to do anything about it right now. Although with the Knight of Swords, I mean, that's going to get you to this birth faster. But sometimes all we need is just to open the door, to acknowledge the possibility. Allow it in. Let it float around in your head for a little while. Don't have to do anything about it in the material world. So allow yourself to think, what in my life is holding me back? What in my life is bringing me down? And what can I do about that? All right. So, moment of truth. What is this birth card about? What are you hoping to birth in your life? I'm going to take probably only one at a time. So, let's see. Oop. Okay. Wow. Okay. Lots of wands. And, you know, because I feel like it's such an important card, I'll keep it. I'll keep these. And okay. So yeah, I'm feeling this five. So again, lots of wands, and wands are really all about that action, that passion, that fire, and that is inside of you. I know right now maybe it feels you're missing that. Maybe it feels like literally something's missing to give you that fire and that passion. But what you're working towards, what you're building up towards with this birth, with this transformation in your life, you get your passion back. That's for sure. And starting with this Five of Wands, this is a hard-earned passion. Now, I want you to think of something for me. That's something that we'll be doing a lot of on this channel, as you can see. Stopping and thinking and processing and feeling into the reading. So let's stop and think for a minute with this Five of Wands. There was a moment when you were younger where you felt like you had to choose between creativeness, between what you really wanted. Maybe it was a big aspiration, a big dream, something that feels now more like a fantasy. But it was yours. It was yours. And you felt like you had to choose between that or going along with what others have done. This could have been in the form of going to school, going to college, picking a specific major or career path, staying in a relationship with a person or a gender that wasn't true to you, staying in a gender that wasn't true to you. But there's this sense of continuing along the path of conformity. It's like you chose that when you were young. And I'll tell you something, this choice, this feeling inside, this defeatedness, this depression, and this larger sense of calling to the unknown, it's that same choice coming back. It's that same choice coming back to haunt you. And I'll tell you something else, that if you were to ignore cutting out the things in your life that aren't serving you, that are weighing you down, that are making you feel this way, if you choose to ignore that and choose what seems like the safer option or the more stable one, which often is the option of conformity and tradition, if you choose to stay on this path, this feeling is not going to go away. And this choice that has haunted you your whole life will not go away. And something I want you to know is that this choice is yours. That's not by any means to take your free will away. It is, in fact, to give you the power to make that choice. Imagine if we always knew what it was we should be doing and our power of choice was taken away. We wouldn't really ever learn anything. The lessons we learn and the power we build and the circumstances we find ourselves in, the blessings, the defeatedness, the results of all our choices, that comes from free will. That comes from free will. So this choice is yours, and nobody's going to make it for you. Just because your soul craves something and is calling you to it does not mean it's going to suddenly appear in your life, and does not mean it's going to be handed to you. That is... Okay, so sorry, y'all. So my camera ran out. Real YouTube newbie here. But my camera ran out, so I had to go fix that and get back into it. So let's get back into it, and yeah. So I left off, I believe, talking about this choice between complacency and something entirely new and unknown, and how this choice has been one that has followed you since you were young. And the thing about the choice now is, for one, it's stronger now, right? This feeling of, if I don't choose this now, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how long these feelings of depression and demotivation are going to follow me. And I'll tell you now, the answer lies in the feelings you're having. What makes you think that's gonna go away? Just because you may have a secure or stable job or a relationship or life that looks like everyone else's does not mean that this calling for something deeper will suddenly disappear. In fact, this cycle that you see coming back, this fork in the road, this juxtaposition, this choice, will keep coming back to knock on your door. And so the choice now lies in, am I going to open the door, or am I going to hide under the covers and pretend it doesn't exist again and just go along with whatever everyone else is doing because it's easier? It's a difficult thing to open the door and not know what's going to step inside. And there's a large part of you that is afraid that what's going to come in is something that's going to destroy you. Destroy your home, your life, your sense of security. You're afraid not only of failure, but of complete and utter destruction of everything you know and love. And I'll tell you one thing, if you have been afraid to take the action necessary to cut out things in your life that are holding you back, and part of you knows what those things are, but you're afraid of letting those things go. Here's the thing, it's not so black and white, this battle inside of you. It may feel that way because it feels like one part of you is being pulled in one direction and another part of you is trying to keep you in the other direction. That's where this torn feeling is coming from. But it's not all that. You're paying so much attention to this back and forth and black and white and this or that you are distracted from the entire wide view in front of you. Something I talk a lot about is, I call it the field of pure potentiality. And I imagine it as, imagine there's these paths, right, that you could be taking to get to different outcomes. And maybe you're thinking of one path here as the one you're already on. And maybe the outcome is stability and security. But a large sense of something missing and a lack of passion and authenticity. And maybe you're thinking of this other path as completely deviating from the one you're on, as jumping into the unknown and cutting everything out of your life and letting go of all the people in your life and letting them down and destroying your finances and I don't know, whatever your anxiety has been coming up with, essentially. But here's the thing. Those are two paths that are beaten into this large field of grass, right? But who said that you had to walk on the path to get to where you want to go? Who said that? Right? There's an entire field out here. The field of pure potentiality is recognizing that literally those paths are mindsets. Even the dream one, the one of going after what it is you want, even that one is a mindset. And here's the thing, it's also a story that you're telling yourself. These limiting paths, right? If I do this, then I can't have that. Or if I go on this path, then I have to leave the other one. Those are stories, right, that you're telling yourself. The reality of it, really, is it's a field. It's not one path or the other. It's a field. with paths beaten onto it. You could walk anywhere you want. You could take some things from the path you're on and keep them in your life, and do other things that chase after the light that you're trying to bring in from the other path. You can mix and match. You can compromise. You can do something entirely new. So this torn feeling you're having, and let's say part of you is like, still feels like, no, I really do think I need to like let go of a lot of what I have in my life right now in order to really be reborn, in order to really go on this new path. Okay. Can we start with one thing? You know? Instead of flipping your entire life upside down? Can we start with one thing and compromise a little bit? Because I'll tell you, it'll be a lot easier on your ego, on your brain, on your body, to take one step at a time instead of beating down one side of you. So we can imagine this Five of Wands, or this internal battle, right, as two different armies. And I think really what this message is saying, it's not the goal for one army to defeat the other. The goal is for the armies to understand each other. Do we want humanity to always engage in war? Or would we rather understand each other's points of view and work to create a better life together? I think that's what this is asking of you. It's not so black and white. How do you let your fear and ego understand your desire and your dreams? And how can your dreams and desires understand your fear and ego? It's not cutting off one or the other, but it's holistically accepting both. The part of you that wants security and stability, and the part of you that wants something more. It's true that this choice will continue to knock on your door until you address it. But addressing it does not mean throwing all your eggs in one basket or the other. Choices don't have to be one thing or the other. They can just be to look at the choice and take an action. So really, this Five of Wands, this internal battle, this feeling of being torn, is a fabrication. The fear exists and is not going to necessarily go away anytime soon. And the desire for more exists and is begging to be addressed. Your job is to figure out a way to integrate both. How do you keep some security and stability while still chasing after your dream and allowing it to exist in your life? And maybe, you never know, maybe the further you go, the more you'll want to lean into that dream. But it's just taking that first step that is a compromise. That is, imagine those two armies shaking hands. Those two feelings inside of you hugging each other. What does that feel like now? Those two feelings between each of the choices that we went over before. Imagine them having compassion for each other. Now, what does that feel like? So, with these three cards below, telling us more about this rebirth, we have Temperance, the Page of Wands, and the Eight of Wands. Temperance really is a lot about that balance. Feelings of peace, of stability and security. Allowing the space for both that fear and that desire for a home base, for a security net, for some kind of routine, allowing that to exist, and understanding that it doesn't necessarily hold you back from this wide field of unknown and potential and passion. It's asking you to hold both. Hold both within you. How can you honor the space for both security and stability and the big dream? How can you hold space for both? And again, let go of that but. Let go of it for a second. No, really, what's one step you can take? Maybe it's as simple as carving out time. And here's the thing. I don't want you to think of here's the mistake I think a lot of people make when and I've made myself when trying to transition into a new period or stepping into a new era of your life. Don't try to carve out like, okay, every Saturday at 9 a.m. I'm going to set aside 2 hours to work on my dream. Nah. This is about opening the door. Opening the door. I'll tell you, if you try to go about this the same way you've gone about the conformity path, it's you're gonna run into some issues. It's about opening the door to allow this dream back into your life. To really, it starts in the internal belief. I believe this is possible. It's fighting back against that internal voice that says, but. And your job now is to say, no, it is possible. Again, you don't have to act on it. As long as you work on the internal beliefs surrounding this dream, the actions will work themselves out. But the big, really, really important piece is opening the door and believing it is yours. It is your right, and you are worthy of having this dream in your life. Okay? And you can even say it out loud or think it in your head right now. I deserve to have this. I deserve to have what I want. That's the thing about desires, right? Feelings don't lie. The mind can manipulate and twist and flip around our feelings and make them mean something that they don't actually mean. But the actual feelings themselves don't lie. And that's how you know that this is your true calling. How many times have you tried to make it go away? How many times have you tried to shove it down? But here's the thing, it never did go away. Because it's yours, it was meant for you. It is meant for you, right now. So, how are you going to let that back into your life? How are you going to open the door? Again, maybe it's just thinking about it, dreaming again, just like you did when you were a kid. Visualizing, believing. Maybe that's the first step. Or maybe it is clearing out something in your life, making the space, letting go of one thing to make room for another. What can you let go of? What can you cut away? And with this Page of Wands here, this really reminds me of your dream. And the pages are youth, are that energy of freedom and vision and expansiveness and energy as well, high energy. And the Page of Wands is someone who is unafraid to express themselves. Maybe when you were a kid, you dreamed of acting, of singing, of performing. Performing is a big one that I'm feeling here. Hey, where my Leos at? Am I right? So maybe you always have wanted to perform for people, to have the spotlight shine on you, to shine, to express yourself. Maybe that was part of your dream. Maybe it was creating these wild visions in stories or plays or films or pieces of art. Maybe it was creating something entirely new. Maybe your family used to marvel at man, this kid is creative. Where do they make this stuff up, right? Maybe you've heard that before when you were a kid. And it's this, overall, above all, it's this feeling of freedom, of expression. So, how can you start to allow that back into your life? How can you let that back into your life? Maybe you can look into local acting classes or how to get involved in your community play. Even if it's just starting in, the setup crew or, helping with lighting or just being in the space. You don't have to do anything drastic now, but the idea is to open the door. So I would really suggest tapping back into that childhood dream and tangibly seeking ways to allow it back into your life. Where's the nearest art class to me? What can I learn from this creative mentor or this workshop going on? And don't worry too much now about what exactly kind of step it is or where it's going to lead you. The important part is taking the step. Once again, the important part is taking the step. And I promise you, the rest will figure itself out. And here's the thing, too. With the Eight of Wands here, the opportunities involved with this dream are a lot closer than you might perceive right now. When you're in this energy of defeatedness, of depression, of wanting something but feeling like you can't have it, it's very difficult to imagine yourself, to visualize yourself in the energy of having the dream, of being on that stage, of being in that light, of sharing your gifts with the world. It's hard to visualize that from where you are right now, from what you tell about yourself right now. But it's not about being on the stage yet. It's not about being in that energy yet. It's about opening the door. Once again, it's about opening the door. And once you do, you'll find that all of a sudden, things start aligning for you. All of a sudden, this path, this dream is a lot clearer than it was before. Because here's the thing about all the confusion and the fog that you're experiencing right now. That's the fear. That is the fear. And when you can find the courage to clear the fog, to clear what's holding you back, to clear the belief that you can't have this, well, then things become a lot clearer, don't they? Things become a lot more possible, a lot more real and tangible. So 1, I can have this. I deserve this. This is mine. This is my desire, and I deserve to have what I want. 2, I'm going to create the space that it takes for this thing to appear in my life. I'm going to clear out what's holding me back, And I'm going to allow it to come in. I'm going to allow it to take up space in my life. And I'm going to give it the value that it needs from me in order to continue to hold space in my life. Because if we think that we're not worthy of something, then we're not going to necessarily let it take our time and energy, opposed to, say, like a job that gives us money or gives us a sense of false worth. So it's accepting this as your worth and as your power and as your birthright. You've wanted it for long enough, haven't you? Alright, so let's see this communication card. Why is this communication here, huh? Okay, wow. Okay, so we have the Sun in reverse, and we have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse with the Queen of Wands on the back of the deck. And here's the thing. The Sun wishes to not only, number one, back to that spotlight, talk about the Sun, back to that Leo energy, that knowing that you have something to give to the world, that desire to be seen and recognized for your talents. Not only is that calling out to you and wishing to be expressed, but, oh man, your soul is just begging you to please allow the talent through. It's like you have been telling yourself for so long, I'm not good enough, or in some way I don't deserve this limelight, this spotlight, this recognition, this dream, whether consciously or unconsciously through your actions and your beliefs about yourself. But the Sun is a card of pure joy and freedom and celebration. And here's the thing, it's that childlike joy that is really calling your name. The Sun doesn't stop to worry about how you're going to get that joy, or it doesn't equate the joy to the end goal. The Sun understands that the joy lies in the act of creation, lies in the journey itself. The Sun is the joy and the peace and the satisfaction you get from simply existing in the dream, in the creation. So when you visualize this dream, when you allow it in, don't for a second believe that the only way you'll be happy with it, or that the only way it deserves to be in your life, is when it starts making you money, or getting you a soulmate, or getting you to be feeling happiness. All that is continuing to equate happiness to material gains in your life. That's just the path that you were taking with the complacency. Is thinking that stability and security and happiness equals material gain. Money, a stable home, things, people that you're not necessarily happy with, but that are just a presence in your life. But the Sun in its truth is the joy of being alive, the joy of creating, the joy of existing. And it really reminds me of that joy you felt when you were a kid, when you were making up all these stories and being silly and being weird and not thinking that it was weird. You just thought it was fun, didn't you? It wasn't until people started calling it weird that you stopped finding it fun. Isn't that right? So this sun in reverse is showing you where it is in your life you need to let loose a little bit. Open the door, allow that joy back in, allow the dream back in. The desire to play. Yeah, definitely feeling the actors in this audience, in the people who are watching this video. The performers, for sure. So, tell that to somebody. Something I personally discovered in, my own process with accepting my dreams was, here's the thing with anxiety and fear, is when we allow it to just exist in our head and not tell anybody, it's very easy to get things twisted, right? To let the ego lead us astray or like talk ourselves down from something. But when you allow yourself to speak your dreams to people that you trust in your life and that you really value, that can be a really good way of taking away the power that the fear has over you. It's taking that fear and taking that ego and that but and that twisting of the dream and putting it out in the world for somebody you really love and trust to help you work through that and to help you see the truth of the situation, to help you see actually your talents and actually what's possible for you. There have been many times where I myself have gone through, a really tough time with self-doubt and fear. And when I notice that when I'm able to express that fear and self-doubt and express what it is I want, number one, it gives me that support from somebody I trust. And number two, it also, sometimes when I would talk about these things, I would find myself saying it, the way that I said it was an answer in itself, really. For example, I've had therapy sessions, and by the way, if you don't have a therapist right now, I would really suggest looking into it. You can go on psychologytoday.com if you're in the US at least, and just put in your zip code, and that's how I've always found my therapist. But anyway, the point I'm saying is I've had therapy sessions where I've talked about a difficult choice I was having, and through the act of literally just talking about it, my therapist would notice the way I talked about one choice versus the other. It was the way that my body language would sink, and I would become looking sad when I talked about the thing I didn't want. But when I talked about the thing I wanted, suddenly I would talk more excitedly, and my body language would pick up, and I would gesture more. And so my point here is sometimes even just the way in which you talk about these things and can provide deeper insight. And it's also, sometimes when you express what's on your mind in that way, you can suddenly start saying things where you're like, oh man, I didn't know I felt like that. Wow. So yeah. Number one, really, really expressing this to somebody you trust. I know maybe if you've done other readings or I don't know, if you've heard this advice before of when you get a really good idea with your dreams, or when you're pursuing a new path, to not tell other people and instead to hold it back. I've heard that advice before. And you know what? Maybe that can be true in say posting it all over your social media, or telling everybody but it's really important here that you do have a sense of support and you do communicate what you're feeling to people in your life that you trust, and that have proven themselves to be allies to your highest self, your best self. So please remember that, and remember that you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to stay quiet about this. And it's okay to bring other people in to work this out with you. And with this Wheel of Fortune in reverse as well under communication, to me it speaks of almost like that. It's along with the Sun in reverse, and going back to, in a larger sense, to Phi over here. It's this fear of failure before you even begin to bring it into your life. And telling yourself, whether consciously or subconsciously, and here, of course, my neighbors are fighting outside as we talk about this, so maybe that's you talking to yourself in that way of this feeling that things are going to fail, that you're just not the one, that your luck is just bad. With this Wheel of Fortune in reverse, it talks a lot about bad luck. But, and the Sun as well being in reverse, believing that you can't be happy, or that this can't be yours for whatever reason, that it's just a fantasy, that it's just a dream. And here's the thing, you're wrong. You're wrong. It does not have to be just a dream. You're the one who decided to think about it that way. You're the one who has been telling yourself that it is that way. Not the world, not the universe, you. You're the one who has been setting yourself up to not chase after what it is that you want. And why do that, right? There's probably a good reason to why you do that. And that's going to take some more inner work. And that's why I really suggest getting a therapist, or just expressing this to someone, or externalizing it outside of yourself. Because it always starts somewhere. And I don't believe this was a feeling that you had when you were a kid. I don't believe that this is something you were born into or felt when you were very young and in this dream. I don't think you felt then like, oh, I don't deserve this, or man, that this could never work out for me. I could never make this work, or that's too far-fetched. No, your younger self didn't think about that. Your younger self just thought about the dream and how it was going to be so great. And who in the hell says that you can't still have that? That you can't be in the dream? And the answer is you. You're the one who says that. So this communication, and also this greater visual of mirroring, is really about changing the way in which you speak to yourself, and changing the way also in which you speak about the dream and about life in general. I'm really feeling this sense of pessimism here, holding you back from the truth, which is, with this Queen of Wands, which is that you are the one who has the power to make this happen. And the longer that you decide to talk about it like it's never going to happen, the more you'll delude yourself, not into that this is a fantasy and a dream. That's not the delusion. The delusion is that it can never be yours, or that you, in some way, it's not practical or logical. That's the delusion. Anything is possible. Literally anything. But it's the beliefs that we have that something isn't possible that stop it from manifesting in our lives. All you need to do is open the door. That's all it is asking you to do. You don't need to make it happen tomorrow. That'll happen on its own with this Eight of Wands. It'll happen for you. It'll come in for you. But you gotta have the courage to open the door, to make the space in your life, and to believe that it will come. You've wanted this for long enough, whether you've shoved it down or not. And this is really, really asking you to please let me in. Let me in. That's the happiness. That's the joy. It's not, the joy is not, number one, it's not the path of complacency. The joy is not some imagined end goal either. It's not that we're here in defeat and then once we open the door, well then, once I'm on stage and I have everything I want, then I'm happy. That's skipping over, so much of your journey that you could be spending having joy in simply the dream, the thing that you love. Because that's why this is calling to you, right? That's why this is asking you to come back to it. This thing you've loved for so long that has made you so passionate, so happy to be alive. That's why you want this path. Not for the same material gains that you were staying on the path of complacency for. So remember that when you open the door and when you step into this new path, this path of passion. Remember that it's, again, not the end goal. It's not the path itself. It's the act of doing something that you love and making that a centric focus of your life again. That's it, all it is. Right? And the abundance and the rewards for doing so and for living in your truth and living in something that makes you really happy will happen naturally. Because when you align with the purpose of why you were born, naturally, the resources you need to sustain yourself in that situation will come to you. It will all align. Don't you worry. But in order for it to come to you, you gotta actually start the path in the first place. So, on the back of the deck, which I consider to be like kind of main themes of the reading, we have movement and the Queen of Wands. Movement, I think, just, again, goes over, we just gotta act, right? We just gotta take a step. Doesn't have to be all overnight, doesn't have to be really any sort of tangible action in your life. It just needs to be some kind of movement. And that movement could be opening the door to the possibility. It could be letting the dream back into your life. Or, maybe it's being able to cut something out of your life that's holding you back. Maybe it's looking up resources in your area, classes, opportunities to get back involved in this passion. Maybe it's, carving out time and space. Whatever it is, it's just calling you to let it back in some way, somehow. Specifics don't matter as much as the act itself, right? The specifics will come later. And don't let that anxiety, but don't let that take it away from you. Don't let the semantics and the logic take away the opportunity to let your dream back into your life, okay? The details can come later. And with this Queen of Wands, the more that you lean into this power, the more that you lean into this passion, the more skilled you will be at making it work in your life anyway, making the details work anyway. And something I'm really called to point out here, and something I find so sweet, is look at this Page of Wands, and then look at this Queen of Wands. It's like this is your child self, and this is your adult self. It's a full circle. It's a cycle of the dream and the completion of the dream and the acceptance of the dream. You're really being called to tap into your inner child and channel that into the adult you are now. Channel that passion and that joy into how you're going to change your life and how you're going to be reborn. Okay? It's less about erasing who you are and more about becoming exactly who you've always been. That's the rebirth you're seeking. that's the change. It's not that you need to change anything about yourself. In fact, it's the opposite. It's accepting who you've always been and who you've always been running away from. Okay? You are the Queen of Wands. But it's gonna take some courage and some action to bring her in. Okay? So tell somebody about how you're feeling and work on the way you speak to yourself about this. Try to bring in some more compassion and don't let that ego bullshit distract you from what it is you want, okay? Look into the inner battle you're having and really try to have compassion for both sides and don't dismiss either side of wanting to have security and wanting to have the dream. What kind of compromise can you find from that, okay? What do you need to cut out and make space with in order for the dream to come back into your life? Do you need to let go of something or create more time in your life to dedicate to this? More time or energy? So what is it you need to cut out? And having the hope, finding the hope again, allowing yourself to dream, allowing yourself to connect back to your inner child, connecting back to the why, okay? So I'm gonna end our reading here, and I'm sending you so much love, so much faith in where you're going, okay? Listen, it's gonna be hard, it's gonna be difficult to fight back against beliefs that you've had about yourself for so long. Don't get me wrong, it's gonna be hard, but it's gonna be worth it, I promise you. You're gonna have to fight against the fear and the self-doubt, but that's part of the process, and the fact that they're there doesn't take away from the outcome, and it doesn't take away from the desire that you're having, okay? You can get through this, and I'm sending you all the support, and you have a lot of people in your life, living or not, that really are looking to see you succeed, whether you know this or not. And I think the more that you talk to the people in your life that you really love and trust, the more you'll see that they support you, that they're gonna be here for you in this process, okay? So, there it is, my first reading. Thank you guys so much for coming along the ride, and I hope to see you on my channel again soon. I'm going to start filming more pick-a-card readings. I don't know if you guys have ever tried those, but essentially it's like, instead of just seeing this reading, you'll be able to pick different piles of cards. So I might be able to serve, larger audiences with my readings. So I hope this resonated. Take what resonates, and whatever didn't fit or feel right, don't worry, it just means it's for another person. So I'd love to hear your thoughts below on the reading. If you like my style of reading, then feel free to subscribe or check back in when I post another video. So, alright, this is it. And this was Forest Tarot, so thank you guys. I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.